We are back with another ReZero recap. I want to say, first, spoilers. Don't sit in here. If you go watch the episode first, okay? You know the rule. Go watch the episode first and come back. Second, I'm a freaking psychic. I've drawn two pictures of this last week. I'm only in anime only. I drew a photo of Ram holding the book, and I also drew Minerva, but specifically because Hollow asked, and I was just like, I could use it for some studies, but I freaking called it. I share a birthday with Mewtwo, and now I know I truly am the reincarnation of Mewtwo. I am the true psychic type Pokemon. This episode was so freaking eventful. I had to write everything in order on a card. First, we have Garfield with the eye with Elsa, instant healing. Elsa's love of Garfield. There was like a whole little fetish thing going on. Subaru science fail. Death by oil with Otto. Freaking Emilia future trials. Subaru and Rem. We saw a thing of Rem again. Echidna. Minerva crying. A whole freaking thing of Minerva and knowing her mom. Frederica beating the hippo, or at least throwing it through the wall. The hippo's neck. Elsa being a vampire. Elsa's pass. Neck biting. It's very kinky. Roswaal near the fight where he was fighting was near the fight where he had with Hector. Roswaal destroying Ram's village. Ram's confession. Ram's gospel. Ram in the gospel. And then Ram possibly dying. Let's go into all this. It's way too much in this episode. I'm gonna take it in parts, but this is gonna be like a major recap analysis, just me going over this crap. So we got a very extensive look at Elsa's ridiculous amount of regeneration. She almost has Hashirama cells at the point she was regenerating. This dude stabbed her right in the eye, fingers right in there, and she goes, ice back. It's just crazy, just freaking insane. And she's getting off way too much of this fight. Somebody needs to call the police. This woman's in her like 20s and Garfield's like 14. All right, that's all I'm saying is somebody call the police. She's too excited about this fight. For obvious reasons, this is a tough opponent she can actually have a fight with. I feel like she was excited when she was fighting Reinhardt, but I don't really feel like that was much of a fight in Reinhardt's direction. It was more of a fight just for her, but this one was a fight. And when I mean they saved the budget, last episode I was worried because there was that moment where Beatrice and Subaru were talking, and they kept the scene really far back, and you could tell they were trying to save on the animation there. They were just moving Subaru's mouth, and you saw the back of Beatrice's head. And I was like, it's fine as long as they're saving the budget. And when I tell you they saved the budget, every moment in the fights we got, I know somebody was, I think it was a Kidnut, who was like, I really wish they would have shown Garfield biting the sword and breaking it. We got like 3 of those in this episode. A lot with the gauntlets really moving really quick. There was a lot of back and forth. Elsa seems to be pulling swords out of nowhere. Like she just reaches behind her and then just 2 more swords. He broke the last 2, but I got 5 more. Where that came from, I don't know where she's putting them. I'm sure you're all gonna make the joke. I know you're gonna make the joke. Go ahead, do it now. Write it in the comments. Go ahead, write. I know where she's keeping her swords. Go ahead. All right. After that, we go to Subaru because Elsa's like, don't you think you have a little too much overconfidence in him? And he's like, nah, I trust boss. And we just get Subaru running down a hall with Petra and Otto, trying to survive the giant, I think it's a Grimoire. They're trying to survive from the stupid Chimera. They get to a hallway. Subaru's like, I got this. I have a plan. After Petra and Otto are looking at him like, we need to live. Come on, please, Subaru. He makes it chase him down the hall. He goes into a room. I think it's a dining room. Or at least it's a random room, whatever. It doesn't matter what the room is. They get to the room. There's a candle on the table. The Grimoire charges at him. He jumps out the way. This dude's very brave. He's bullfighting today. He sees the candle and goes, oh, I have a brilliant scientific plan. He gets dust and throws it where the candle was. I think it was on the ground when he threw it afterwards. And after he did that, it didn't spark. And so now it was just him and a thing stuck in the room. Luckily enough for him, Otto and Petra were up at the top, and they're like, we told you to use freaking oil. Why the frig are you trying to light dust on fire? There's not enough. They throw oil on it. It lights on fire. Now the mansion's on fire. The Grimoire is burning. It charges straight at Subaru because he's like, I'm going to take you out with me. It obviously doesn't talk because it's a giant monster, but you get the point. You can tell by its eyes, right? He's mad. He's like, oh man, you're burning me. You're about to get roasted. He runs right towards him, flies out the window because Subaru jumped out the way in time, and then crashes to his death, which was amazing to watch. I can't even believe they animated the whole. They didn't animate like him hitting the ground, but him coming out the window and just tanking. I was just like, man, he's dead. Sick. Oh my gosh. Then they were like talking about like the oil and stuff like that, and then Subaru was like, write on my tombstone if I die, because he needs to go back and save Beatrice. He tells him to go. He gives Rim to Otto, and he's like, if I die, remember to write on my tombstone, death by Otto's oil, or something stupid like that. It was really dumb. It was great. These are great moments. What was next? After that, we go into Emilia's trial. And this was very strange. I know what's going to happen because I've watched a lot of recaps. A lot of the light novel people are probably going to go like, it kind of sucks they didn't show what was happening during the trial. It felt like to me, they might have took some of the visuals out because that would end up spoiling things in the future. And they don't know how they want to animate that, which makes a lot more sense to me. And I think this way they piqued a lot of curiosity. Emilia goes to the trial. This is the first time we've ever seen the future trial. We've never seen it before. And we get Emilia standing in, it's either like the mansion or a castle, somewhere similar, and it looked like it was all on fire at one point. The sky is orange. It's just Emilia saying, I hate you, I hate you, I hate you, I hate you, I hate you so much. And then she kind of like snaps out of it. And then we go back to the rest of the trial where like more of these future visions start coming at her. We get like a ton of voices that you're familiar with, some that I think they're all familiar voices. I know I heard Priscilla, because I would never forget the Wada Wada stuff. It's immediately, I was like, that's Priscilla, there she is right now. I think I heard Krush, I think Reinhardt, and there was a couple of people, like voices just going through. Some people like, I tell you I kill you like I told Subaru, like I promised him. Tons of just voices, words flying by her. And then we finally get to like a break, and she's in the tea party, which was weird because we haven't seen like anybody else there. And I was wondering, like, where are they going to go with this? How much is Emilia going to find out while being in the tea party, you know? It's a lot, right? There's a lot of information that could be spilled at the tea party. We didn't get as much, but we did get some interesting information. Emilia goes to the table and just grabs cookies off of the thing. She's very trusting of Echidna for a woman who hates her guts. As we've seen already, Emilia is kind of naive, all right? I'm just going to say it. We just said it right now. I'm not picking anything up off of Echidna's table, especially not if that woman hates me, all right? No. She's going to try to poison me from like the knowledge of poison. She's gonna make the cookies have some chemical reaction in the air because she would know that because she's a witch of greed or whatever. I'm not doing it, okay? She's got way too many ways to probably kill somebody. But before she grabs the cookies, she's interrupted by Minerva, which there goes to my art where I'm like, big brain psychic. You see that? Minerva won't let her turn around. She has her finger on the back of her head. I know freaking Hollow lost it right there. He was like, oh my gosh, it's my girl. But we're in that, and then she's kind of breaking down like, you saw those futures, yet you're still like not afraid of it, and it's basically going over the trial. And then Minerva mentions something about Emilia's mother. I believe it was like you're more hopeful than your mother, or you're stronger than your mother, something in that sort of sense. And Emilia goes, my mom. She just tries to turn around, and then she puts her finger in the back of her head, which immediately makes people think, and it still makes me think, is Satella her mother? Is that what you're implying? Satella is her mother. Fortuna is the sister of Satella, and Satella, probably something terrible happened to her. That's why Fortuna's mad at Pandora for doing whatever she did to Emilia's mother that turned her into Satella at that point, or her name might have always been Satella. The point still remains, there's this big circle of who did what to who, and only more lore, and now more questions, okay? Emilia is then like, well, it's fine, I understand you can't talk about my mother, because Minerva said she made a promise not to talk about her. And then she goes, Mother Fortuna, she's my mother anyways, and it's fine. And then Minerva starts crying. So clearly Minerva knows a bit more than what she's letting on, or, well, I guess she kind of hinted it. She just said she couldn't talk about it. But she knows a lot, okay? This is prompting her emotions outside of her normally kind of crying anyways. Emilia turns around at some other point and then gets hugged by Minerva, and I know there are tons of shippers who are now, they're going right to their fanfics. You're gonna go to rule 34 right now. It's gonna be 400 searches. Shouldn't make these jokes. Anyways, after that, Minerva just tells her, like, if you go out that door, you'll be able to go through the trial. And Emilia's like, we should have a tea party, you and all the witches. Tell Echidna, I think she just said for the tea party, and then Minerva said, I'll drag her out by the scuff of her neck if I have to. And then that's where we end with Emilia's trial. And then she goes outside, or she doesn't go outside yet. She goes further into the tomb, and inside the tomb, where she can unlock Sanctuary, is Echidna's dead corpse. But Emilia can't even recognize her, and I think it's been talked about beforehand that Echidna is such a different person. You don't even recognize her when you see her somehow, even though she's wearing the exact same outfit. The first thing she said is, "Who's this? This is supposed to be the Echidna's tomb or whatever." And the first thing I would say was, then obviously that's Echidna. She still has her skin and everything too. You would think she'd be a corpse by now, but, or I guess, skeleton, but no. So that's interesting. Keep that in mind. I'm gonna keep that in mind. She unlocks it. Emilia has the greatest like little karate chop to the amazing Sanctuary defenses. It's like a bunch of strings together, and I think it's like on top of the coffin itself, it's almost like a glass coffin. She goes, "Hia!" And it's like the funniest thing. It's Rie Takahashi doing her voice again. It's always great. Especially when we've been playing Hu Tao so much. It only makes it so much better. And then she walks outside, and everything's covered in snow, which I think ties into the last part of the episode. But we go back, I believe, to Garfield and Elsa fighting. And this part of the fight got, like, super crazy. So, power scaling ReZero. They're still fighting. With Garfield and Elsa, obviously, and right as they're still fighting in the hallway and they're still talking to each other, that the rock piggy goes right through the wall. So power scaling wise, we know Frederica is at least strong enough to throw that giant hippopotamus, and Meli can't fight her on her own. So I was correct with my last assumption. Had it just been individually, I feel like Frederica would have had a better chance, but because she was stuck having to defend two people who cannot defend themselves, it put her a bit more on edge. I don't know if she'd be able to fight Elsa. I don't think so. I think Garfield's at a level of strength, and it's also, what we see in this episode, his intelligence that allows him to win this fight, in a sense. So he wasn't so surprised based off of Elsa's abilities. We'll get into that a little bit further. So Garfield's like, "What the frick are you back here?" And Frederica's like, "I obviously gave," again, Frederica best girl, or Frederica Emilia best girls. That's what we're going with there. Anyways, we get to the point she's like, "Oh, I gave Rem over to Otto and Subaru. They're fine. They're leaving out. Our mission's done. I'm here to help you now. You're my brother. I'm obviously not ditching you." And he's just like, "Ah, freak," and he's mad. And now he's even more mad at Elsa. He's like, "Now you're making things worse for the both of us. Now you're making my sister's life worse," in a general sense. And he's like, "You two sisters, you're going down." And then Elsa's like, "I guess we're sisters in a way. This is a fight between siblings in a sense." But I don't think they're actually siblings. Again, it's just like an adopted sister or whatever. You get the point. It would have been a nice tie-in had it been like Frederica and Petra versus the two of them. But they're obviously, Petra has no actual like special abilities as far as we're aware. We get into the fight. They're going a bit further. Elsa tells I know they get surrounded at first by all the mob beasts, and then it turns out Garfield has his divine protection that he can strike anything on the earth as long as he's like it's within his vicinity to see. So he just blows all the mob beasts back when Frederica's about to she's like, "Don't worry about me. We have to take care of all these things." He's like, "Nah, I got this." Slams his foot down. Boom. They all go back. Then Elsa's like, "Stand back, Meli. I got to deal with this person myself, okay?" And then Garfield's like, "I'd stay back, sis. I got this." And then they go walking in flames, and the animation in this fight, dude, it went up to 10. Just fire everywhere, sword swing, grasping sword. She's about to stab him. Meli's like, "Oh, go, mob beast attack." Frederica hops in, cuts them all to pieces, and then she's like, "I'm gonna take care of her. I'm gonna keep her distracted. It's fine." Then Meli commands the freaking hippopotamus to go running at Garfield. Garfield turns to his giant tiger form after he made a tiger hand and took off half of Elsa's head. He grabs the hippopotamus as it's charging at him, hops up in the air with it, and twists its neck off midair. It's freaking insane. Then him and Elsa's like, "Wow, I'm gonna keep healing. You're gonna be in trouble." And then that's when Garfield reveals he knows she's a vampire, and he's like, "It doesn't matter. I know there was a witch who was also a vampire, and she died. So I know I can freaking kill you. Eventually, you're going to die." So the one thing I didn't understand, and maybe I'm too dumb, I don't know if she has a limited number of times she can respond, or if it was more like a Majin Buu scenario, which is, as long as you kill most of her, she can't bring herself back to life. You just can't leave the hole. You can't, it's like Cell in his head cap. This is why I took it. So Elsa's super overjoyed. She's practically confessing her love to Garfield at this point. I think she does to twice. Again, somebody call the police. Oh no, there's gonna be so much like fan fiction and junk. Oh my gosh. Anyways, Elsa goes into her backstory, and we learn that she was almost the R word by an older man, because she was living on her own, was stealing and having to get food. She was in a very poor and bad situation. The guy finds her, tries to R word her, and then she kills him. There's a piece of glass, she kills him, and in that moment was the first time she felt warmth from killing his inside, and I would say she started making an association between her joy of the warmth and finally being able to get maybe some power back into her life to feel that way. And so she goes on to doing a bunch of terrible things after that. That's how she goes with her life. Garfield was trying to spare her, actually. I think Garfield's on that. he started to realize she was catching feelings, and he was like, you know what, if I let you leave, maybe in 6 years you can come back and we can leave off where we left. We can keep the fight going, just a different kind of fight. You know what I'm saying? I'm so sorry. There's just so many innuendos in this episode. I was just sitting here going, what am I watching? Like, it was so great, but at the same time, what the frick am I watching? So they go into the rest of the fight, and it gets way more brutal. Elsa's about to have the upper hand, but then Meli is like, oh my gosh, Elsa, help! Because the ceiling's crashing down, but Frederica goes cat form, grabs Meli, and then jumps into the roof, which now we know Frederica's probably going to deal with Meli. Hopefully they don't go, you're a terrible child, and we're going to do great for you, you're going to be saved. I just don't have, I guess I'm not as mad as Meli as I am as a later character we're going to talk about. That's probably going to be a whole 4-minute rant. But now Elsa's distracted. Garfield tackles her, bites her neck, and then like Elsa just starts biting his neck back, and I was just like, freak, man, this is getting intense. Blood everywhere, very strange. I know somebody, the one who was drawing this, I feel like they were drawing a different scene for 2 seconds. For 2 seconds, it's almost a different kind of scene, and I'm just sitting here like, what is going on? And then he gets up, she's just like elated by like blood on her face, and that's why I'm just like, I don't know what's going on anymore. Garfield picks up the giant hippopotamus's corpse and chucks it at her, and then she's like paused or frozen in a moment. I don't know if it's because of his blood specifically or just because of the whole moment in general. I don't know if she's in a moment of ecstasy, like it almost just seems like she had an orgasm, can't tell. Hippo lands on her, and she's like, this is ecstatic, and she's crushed into pieces, and I think she might at least be dead for now. Okay, I don't know if that's like a killing blow, because it feels like, and maybe it's just a shonen protagonist guy in me, whenever a character can regenerate, the only way you can kill that dude is making sure you blow his entire, like, you just gotta completely into smithereens. It's got to be vaporization. Okay, that's what I've learned from Dragon Ball, from Cell, from I think even Naruto. Is it never works. You have to make sure you completely incinerate them. But she'll probably like burn, like all her cells, or whatever, will probably burn from the mansion being on fire. And that's all we get from that fight. It stops there. And Elsa is now, as far as we know, is dead, and Meli is now in Frederica's custody, so we're fine. As we already saw beforehand, Frederica can obviously handle her, and so now everybody everybody in the mansion should be safe. Subaru just has to find Beatrice, and they have to escape the fire. Shouldn't be that big of a deal. And we go back over to Sanctuary, and Roswaal and Puck are fighting. We get this fight, and it's actually well animated. At first, it looked like they were about to cut to like towards the end of the fight, which it technically is. But we get like a lot of moments in this fight. So Ram is on the back end. Puck actually, if you watch right in the beginning, Puck has to save her. He's like throwing ice in the way so she won't get knocked out by Roswaal immediately. It doesn't look like he's going for killing blow for her specifically at first, but he's not really holding his punches back. As we see literally in the next scene, he goes 1-2 and like just gives her a quick jab and she goes flying. So Roswaal on power scaling physically is actually way up there. Remember, Ram knocked out Garfield, or at least knocked the spit out of him in like 3 punches. It was just 1, 2, 3, and then he was down on the ground. Roz did that to Ram, just 2 punches. So he might actually have been able to handle Garfield himself. People used to say like, oh, he attacked Garfield while he wasn't paying attention. And while I do believe Garfield would be in a tougher fight, it seems like when he's angry, he does a bit more damage. Yeah, no, that dude that would have been a fist fight, all right. It would have been a fist fight for Ram. And then Puck's like, you need to get up. You got to be careful. The next one might kill you. And then they gotta go in the speech. Roswaal's like, I'm so disappointed in you. You were supposed to do a Sasuke's revenge and murder me after I murdered your village. He admits to the point. People speculated at it. Roswaal was the cause of that, or at least he was associated. He takes some, like responsibility for it in that regard. Puck brings up the fact that he brings up some sort of conversation. Roswaal said there's nothing to him anymore that matters anymore. Everything that mattered to him was in the past. She's obviously talking about Echidna, and I have an opinion on him and his simping. It feels like it's just simping at this point. I just watched Rent a Girlfriend yesterday, and I could not stand the protagonist of that. But somehow Roswaal is bringing himself all the way up to that level of levels of simp. Okay, and that guy in that show. Let's just say he beat one off, all right? And I didn't need to see that, all right? It hurt my eyes. Anyways, so Roswaal is now saying that, and then Rem is saying, like, I know that's what you wanted out of me, but that's not what I wanted. I loved you. Which is, again, someone called it police, FBI. They show a scene in there, and Ram's, like, way too young, okay? We have this, like, weird triangle of Echidna keeps wanting the younger boys like Roz, and that's the only reason why he's in his obsession right now with witches. And Roz did the same thing to Ram, and that's why that's Stockholm Syndrome. Like, I'm not going to call it anything else. This is Stockholm Syndrome, all right? Ram admits her love. This is the only time you're going to ever get this confession scene, Ram Simps. It's going to be the only time. Pause it, take the screenshot. This is the most dearest and sweetest moment of Ram you're ever going to see was her confessing. That's the nicest I've ever seen her. And then Roz is like, what in the world is wrong with you? No. He's basically like, he can't like comprehend the idea. He's like, don't give me such a cheap emotion. What are you talking about? And then, she's like, all right, Puck, we have to get on the offense. It's still on her same like idea of she's still trying to prove her point. Puck throws a bunch of ice down around, then Ram starts using it it's almost like the shadow clone. She's like using it to diverge, and then Roswaal's like, are you kidding me? And he gets his fire fingers and starts blasting all the ice. It's so cool to watch. And then Puck, he's in his giant form, and Roz has like a quick flashback of giant like cat form Puck, but this time it's literally just Puck, and he's just huge. He's not in like his big saber tooth form. But that does mean, has Roswaal seen his his saber-tooth like kind of form beforehand, which I would take obviously as a yes, since he was almost scarred by it to some degree. Puck starts shooting ice down, and Roz breaks it with his hands. I think he broke him with his hands. And then there's still one giant icicle behind him. I almost want to say iceberg. One behind him. Ram cracks it from behind, full Oni mode. I don't think she obviously doesn't have her horn, but the horn part where it would be is glowing. She dashes full speed, and we see like her claw at him, and we hear like a gushing sound, which was cheap because that's not what she did. She grabbed the book from him, his freaking gospel. So now she has it in her hand. Roz is like, what? No, you don't. And she throws it right into the fire. She's like, this is all the evil here. And she's correct. She throws it into the fire, and he is like running in slow motion. His face, all his composure is right out the window. He's running, and then like she's looking at it, and it's slowly burning, and she's smiling. And then you just see a fireball come behind her, and boom, Ram is up in the air. So it's up in the air whether or not she's dead. I didn't want the pun, but I said it, and then I realized what I did, and I had to go for it. Okay. I don't think she's dead because I think they would have shown her being incinerated, but she might die in the next episode. She might live. For all we know, this is still ReZero. Puck is still there. I don't know if Puck could do like that much kind of healing, but you never know. We've seen him work around with magic. But man, oh man, I cannot. Again, I had to write a card for this episode. Now, on to my rant about Roswaal. This man is the biggest simp of the ReZero universe. Everybody said everything they said about, Emilia, but at least Emilia gave Subaru, because everybody kind of disses it and they act like it doesn't happen, but Emilia doesn't act cold to Subaru. There are moments it almost seems like, as naive as she is, she's flirting back in a sense. It's not really like, it's not, I won't say it's like strong flirting, because I think she's too naive to get into that, right? I don't think she's gonna be like, wow, you look cute back. Like, it's nothing dumb like that. But she's at least playful with the man. There's at least a hint of a chance at all times that I could see the two of them being in a relationship. They're very similar to each other. They have a lot of the same standing. I was harsh on Rem, and I'm still planning on doing a video about Rem's being one note. I don't like that term, and I feel like the way she's written is very good for the plot, and I want to put importance onto why, so I might do that later. Again, that's still up in the air. But Rem, I understand why Rem did it. Rem had a terrible past. She's had to get over the fact that she felt like she was worthless, and now someone brought worth into her life. She's never been able to focus on anything but work, feeling guilty, and having to go replace her sister. So when someone comes and offers her the feeling of being worth something, I can understand. Roswaal, however, has been stuck in 400 years of this simping because a witch made out with him. I know there's probably more. I know there's probably a backstory to it. I know there's probably endearing moments they had. But one, that's going to be kind of how they show the anime. This is called anchor bias. This is what they've shown me. So now because I've been shown this, my anchor bias will be at the point where I saw the kiss. And I saw this is where he's been pushing more. I'm sure she gave some meaning to his life and whatever else. But I can tell you now, outside of Subaru killing himself, if he had to move on, he would try to find a way to do it eventually. At that point of 400 years, I can imagine Subaru going, I have to live on for their sakes. I believe it was Wilhelm. Wilhelm had the speech with him when Subaru was talking about what do I do when people die, and Wilhelm said you have to keep your head up and you have to keep fighting for their sake. Specifically, I got Wilhelm doing all this stuff because that was his wife. Roswaal is the biggest simp, and I want it to be made. He's killed so many characters I enjoy. Poor Petra. Poor sweet Petra. Frederica, you should already know how I feel about that. Emilia, you should already know how I feel about that one. Subaru, that's my boy. Okay, he put Garfield in these terrible scenarios. He puts people down. He's always harsh on them. He's rude. Do you know how painful it was to see Ram's freaking confession to this man? This is a terrible, abusive relationship, and she shouldn't be in it. I don't care how much feeling she has for him. I don't want it to be glorified in the sense that she should be with him in any sense. Unless it's with the theory that everybody has, which is with Hector, the theory of Roswaal is only half Hector right now, and that's the only reason why he's acting the way he is. That would be the only way this is justifiable. But outside of this, no. Ugh, no. Have Ram get with Garfield. That's like the most, that's the, out of all these relationships, at least that one's the closest to being legal. No, okay? Freak, man. Screw that guy. I don't want any, I don't wish any, even Echidna was nicer throughout this entire thing, and she was simping. But at least she was doing something for somebody else. The best part about this, because I literally just had somebody, and you might know who you are, no hate to you, okay? You're fine and feel the way you do about the show. But somebody was starting to defend him and saying like, oh, well, she only did that out of jealousy. She burned the notebook out of jealousy. Doesn't matter. I do not give a crap. He is simping over a woman who wouldn't even let him take the trial. And before everybody says it, I know the whole you have to be half demi-human or whatever, but Subaru's already done it. Now, whether or not that's a hint towards Subaru, whatever, you know, go to the future, Subaru's actually half dragon, cool, like something like that. No, she would have let him in. There's a full well she could have let him in, or at least had some acknowledgement. Here, tell Roz that I said this. I still love him too. She doesn't love you. She doesn't want anything to do with you. She hasn't thought about you in years. All you're good for is her plans, and there's nothing here. And the moment he has another woman confess to him, the first thing he goes is, ew, no, you're not Echidna. That's not, you're lying to me. And then blows her up in a fireball. Screw Roz. Again, amazing episode. This is 11 out of 10 episode. If I could put any episode at 11 out of 10, this is it. This is the big banger episode. Oh my gosh, I don't even know how they top this. I don't know how you end these episodes. They even did the ending thing with the credits, like when Subaru is holding Rem. I gotta stop. We're at like 28 minutes. Hopefully you enjoy my like spiel about this. Let me know how you felt about this episode. So tell me your favorite parts. This episode was wild. This episode was crazy. If you can, please share my recaps to a friend. YouTube doesn't really recommend these because it's not my usual content. Usually I recommend Genshin stuff. But if you enjoy me talking about ReZero, I appreciate it. And I'll catch you all later. Peace.
Don't leave!